Welcome to Jazz Zone Together, our new online jazz community where we will give jazz education resources, interviews with jazz educators, artists, and celebrities, along with valuable tips and repertoire suggestions. Today, we are honored to welcome one of our nation's most recognized and successful music educators, Richard Crain. Richard served for 44 years as a distinguished band director and fine arts coordinator in some of the most successful school districts in the state of Texas. I am personally very proud to consider Richard a longtime friend and colleague who I've known for over 50 years. Welcome, dear friend.
Oh,
Now I'll bring in Dick Dunscomb to conduct our interview with Richard. Dick, take it away.
Thanks, Bob. Oh boy, what a great pleasure and what an honor to have Richard Crain on our program. Welcome, Richard.
thank you, Dick and Bob. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I don't think I deserve it, but I'll take it anyway. It's always a pleasure to be with both of you. As Bob said, we go back a long way, way when he was a traveling salesman in Central Texas. But it's always an honor, Dick. We've been together for a long, long time. Collaborated on some other ventures and educational features. So it's always an honor and a pleasure, dear friend.
Thank you, Richard. Yes, it is indeed a pleasure. You're one of my heroes, my man. Let's begin the interview by having you share with us your journey down the path of music and how it began.
Very humbly. There was no band program, no music program in the small school that I attended in South Texas. And when I was a sophomore in high school, about to begin my sophomore year, the band man came to town and started a band, pretty much like the musical. And so that was my beginning as a sophomore in high school. And he handed me a trombone and said, "This is your instrument." And that was a journey unto itself. But I fell in love with music, and it was just a real joy and epiphany for me. And I really wasn't interested in some other activities in a little town, little school. And there were some radio programs in those days that were very effective. The Band of America with Paul Laval. Y'all are too young to remember that probably, but I fell in love with that. And it just became just a real integral part of my life. And I was able to go to a small school in San Antonio College on a scholarship. And the rest is the journey. There were only 6 in my high school graduating class. So I was in the top 30%, as I tell people, academically. And but that's how small the school was. I guess we used seventh and eighth graders in order to have a so-called high school band represented in the district. But that's how my journey began as a labor of love from there on. And then my first job, I was drafted in the Army, but I received a medical deferment at that time, 1956. The Korean War had drawn to a close pretty much, so they were not really in need of people like me in the Army, I guess. But I was without a job in October, and I took a part-time job, and then a band director in the Rio Grande Valley was killed tragically in an auto accident. And I went down there, and I was the only warm body in the state, I guess, for them to hire, so they hired me. And it's $2,900 a year. So I felt like a rich person, except I couldn't pay my bills. But the valley was a location. Of course, the towns are so close together, and all of the bands in the valley were legendary in their quality. So it was a learning experience for me to be thrown into that. I finally learned what this is Band 101, and I better take advantage of it. But several iconic people came out of that era and one went on to be the supervisor of the Pasadena School District in Texas. One created the music programs really in Richardson, which became legendary and a standard for the state, Joe Frank. So And then I don't know how much you want this. I moved to Central Texas after 4 years and to a junior high school and inherited a really good junior high school program, included ninth graders. And we actually got to be third in the state in honor band one year. That's where I met my wife in church and spent 4 years in the middle school there, junior high. And then I went to Belton, Texas as the junior high director, and I knew I'd be moving up to the high school position because that director had already announced his intention to depart. So I spent 15 total years in Belton, and it was a one school town that sent us everywhere, including the Tournament of Roses parade in 1974. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience there in that small town that we were able to achieve some things. And there's some students still out of those band programs still teaching college and privately here in Houston. And then 1979, the spring high school position came open. And I went in to Gail one day and I said, have you ever heard of Spring? And she said, no. And I said, I haven't either, but they need a band director. So we came down and interviewed and became the Spring High School was one school on two campuses then, ninth grade, 10th grade, and on one campus, and juniors and seniors on the other campus. And then after 2 years, I became the director of Westville High School, which is the South Campus, which became the new school in the district. And I was there, opened that school, and then moved to administration full-time in 1982, the fall of 82. And from then on, it was a wonderful ride of dealing with personnel. Then, instead of kids, you're dealing with adults, essentially. And hiring became apparent. The personnel is the secret to your programs, really the biggest secret. And it was great to be able to work with some of the really, really talented young teachers that we were able to attract in the district. And of course, they achieved national prominence, which we were all proud of, and I was grateful to be a part of. I retired in 2000 after 44 years. And then Dick will tell you this, then we got busy with jobs that don't pay anything. But what a great run it's been with the Midwest Clinic, of course. And Dick is the longest tenured member of the Midwest Clinic Board. And I'm the second longest, I guess. And we've been through a lot of battles and dear friends. And I respect what he's been able to do. And the jazz component or division of Midwest is huge now, and a very important component of our annual presentation. And so that's it. I became president in 2009 and then served to the present. That's pretty much it.
Well, that's a heck of a lot of pretty much. In case our viewers haven't noticed yet, Richard is one of the most humble people that I know on this planet. He has accomplished about 14 times as much as what you just heard in that little escapade going back. But let me come from a different angle here for just a minute. Richard, why are the Texas bands so successful?
Well, I've been asked that question a lot, and so have others. It's really hard to nail it down because anything you say is going to sound pretentious. One director just nailed it this way. He said, it's really a big deal in Texas. And I think the size of our state has worked for us in this regard, and that we have great advocacy at the state level and the legislative levels, great advocacy that have helped strengthen all the music programs, all the fine arts programs. But I think that Texas has also utilized competition in a positive manner and a constructive manner, and not letting competition be the sole end that just might consume us and destroy us, but it is served to create standards for us to try to reach and maintain and goals. You know, if you have a band program a few miles from you that's really, really outstanding, then he's going to bring your level up, your program up to his level. So I think it's a competition, but it's a friendly competition. But also, I've never known anybody in this state that's not willing to drop everything they're doing and go help anybody else in another band program, in this case, that's in need, have any need. So I think there are a number of reasons: advocacy, strong advocacy, the size of our state working in our favor. And, you know, in a way, football has probably added to that because it's really put a focus on marching bands. Not that they should be the center of the whole entire focus, but football has kind of worked in the regard to help marching bands develop and engage a lot of kids. So I don't know whether I answer that or not. It's a big deal, and we've been able to capitalize on that. And I think the UIL, for instance, has done a great job in creating standards for us and parameters in which we need to operate. And of course, the TMEA has done a wonderful job as far as advocacy at the state level, for one reason. Bobby Floyd has been terrific in keeping, he knows every legislature, I believe, in Austin, and keeps us, because they're constantly trying to reinvent education, I think, and put new limits and new standards in and so forth. And he's been able to maintain fine arts as a viable part of our curriculum and the education of every child.
Well, it certainly is a model for every other state in this country. And people can learn a lot by watching that. It's amazing. I mean, to have advocacy at the state level,
Yep.
in the way that is happening there is just unheard of.
Yes,
The fact that the parent organizations are so solidly behind the programs, and the administrators are too. Does UIL figure into that success?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yes. I forgot the genesis of UIL, but it was many, many years ago, and but of course, it's come into greater prominence. For instance, when Ross Perot was on his campaign, we came to the limitation of hours of you can rehearse outside, that sort of thing, parameters. And the UIL has done a great job of organizing that. And they're become more and more proactive too, through Richard Floyd, who's a retired director, and now Brad Kent. And they're more proactive in especially during this pandemic we've been in trying to make sure that we still can have performances and give the kids an outlet and stay within what the limits have been set for us with the pandemic, governmental. And yes, UIL has been a very part. I know sometimes we may not think that, but absolutely, UIL has been I'll think of the word in a minute, but it's kept us on the right path, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, you mentioned also the camaraderie between the directors. And again, that's a model to be followed throughout.
Well, you've been to Texas many times as a clinician and as a guest, and you've been able to do a lot of work in this state, actually. And besides that, not only in our conventions, but schools that I'm in my district. And you've been able to see firsthand some of that. But yeah, I'm very, very proud of that, actually.
Yeah. Well, as you should be, and as those directors are, I know, from working with them. Now, let's move to Midwest for a minute. You've been the president since 1991. You've seen the growth that's happened. And now we're in 2021, and we're ready to celebrate our 75th anniversary. Please share with us some of your significant memories of the Midwest experience.
Meeting Dick Dunscomb. Dick Dunscomb was one of the first board members to approach me and welcome me on the board.
Interesting.
And I've never forgotten that. And then I think we felt very close. 2009, remember, we were able to add a member, and felt really good about that. But golly, it would be hard, wouldn't it, Dick, to really zero in. I was trying to think about that. International. It seems like we have more international visitors now. You know, in 2019, it showed 41, I believe, countries other than the United States that have visitors here. We don't know about this year, of course, because some are restricted by their own countries' plans or protocols. But I've enjoyed the international. For me personally, getting to know the military commanders from Washington, D.C., and what terrific gentlemen they are, and how they will, every one of them has been willing to go overboard to help make sure that our conference was the most successful. And one you and I have worked with now, Colonel Keene with the United States Army Field Band, who's performing this year, and what a great source he's been and resource for us in helping. First of all, to get a jazz group, since we were kind of discombobulated there for a while about travel from Washington. But and some of the great performances of icons that have been there. This year, for instance, Toshio Akiyama is supposed to come back from Japan. And in the 70s and 80s and 90s, he was very, very prominent Japanese, was one that really got the Japanese bands interested in coming and performing. And they've been legendary in their performances. And we're hoping that he'll come back. He's 93. And Japan has this protocol that you have to quarantine, I think, 10 to 14 days when you go back to Japan. So, but we're still hoping he'll coming out. We want to honor him when he comes. But just the Frederick Fennells and all the other icons. And this year, you know, we're having the Count Basie band come, which, wow. And Doc Severinsen when he came, and what a great evening that was for all of us. And the icons that have come.
Tell us a little bit about that evening.
Well, you and I went up on stage, Bob. Dick and I went up on stage, and they said, "Now get up there in a hurry because we don't know. He's so unpredictable." So immediately when I guess it was the lady vocalist maybe had sung, you and I had sprinted out on the stage. And he didn't recognize us for a little bit. We were just standing there. And finally, he said, well, what do y'all want? Or something like that. And I said, I'm not sure, sir, but I'm paying attention. He had just made a big deal about everybody paying attention throughout the whole first part of the concert. And that's the only thing that I could come to my mind. But the audience liked it. And from then on, we were battering around back and forth. And I missed one good line, Dick, because when he finally did come over and to accept the plaque you and I had for him, I wanted to turn to you and say, Dick, I forgot why we came up here on stage in the first place. But what a great night, what a great sport he was. And, you know, the next morning, he was down in the clinic area. I visited with you just briefly and Jackie, and he and I had 5 minutes or so alone together, and it was really neat to be able to visit. He's such a great guy, and good grief, 93, 94, knocking it out of the park. But what a great evening. But you know, that was one of those moments where music brought us all together. We were like one big family in the ballroom that night. But what a great evening. Excuse me. I don't know if that answered your question, but I'll never forget that. Yeah. And I don't have any recording, visual, no video, no audio recording of that.
Well, the 3,000 people in attendance sure do. You were an incredible host trying to give him a plaque, and he was not having to be part of it.
No, he wasn't.
And he just kept putting Richard on and putting him on. Anyway, it was one of a million experiences that we've had and seen at Midwest over the years. So why is it important for young band directors to be at Midwest every year?
Well, I think it's one of the, maybe the greatest event where so many people can come together and learn so much. A lot of it is not only in the formality of the presentations in the clinic rooms. A lot of it happens out in the various areas of the convention center, what I call Oahu, which is the gathering place in front of the exhibits. And it inspired me to create a clinic track called the chat room, because so much wisdom and so much knowledge is exchanged informally there, where people are really, really learning how to do band or orchestra. And, but I think it's important too that we remain very, very solid and close as a profession to defend what we do. Because I know I don't have to preach to you, but I just think this is the greatest discipline in public schools and in colleges. It's instrumental music, because it has so many other side qualities, social qualities that I've learned during the pandemic from parents who told me this, how much their child had changed socially and their personality because they didn't get to go and be with their peers and work on a common goal, work toward a common goal. And such a wonderful discipline is music. And I just think professionally we need to stay together. Maybe later on you ask a question, I'll answer it now maybe. Some of the people that I've talked to that really study this have said that we might be on the cusp of instrumental music education really taking off, because parents have seen what music has meant to their children in restoration and socially and every other way. And of course, we already know how it affects academics. I mean, all the studies that show how these kids do so much better in their other academic areas, because instrumental music is an academic discipline for sure. But they have seen during the pandemic where other disciplines, if you want to put it that way, have not really accomplished a healing of and restoration of kids like music has. I think we could be on the cusp. One really knowledgeable exhibitor, as a matter of fact, has told me this, that his research has shown that we could be on the edge of something really moving forward for music education in all its different forms. And I really believe that.
That's really exciting. That's very exciting. And you know, the other aspect that I'll mention as a nod toward Bob, and that is the industry involvement with Midwest. So important.
Oh, yeah, we can't do it without them. But what a great partnership! And you know, we give awards to every year to exhibitors, people of the industry who are our partners and help us in so many different ways. And of course, we couldn't actually financially produce the kind of quality of a clinic with its depth that we do. You know, that is your leadership. But absolutely. And we need to treat them with that kind of respect too, and gratitude that they're a vital part of this. And I hope that we can continue that. And I think we have a great relationship right now with our industry. And as you know, we have our exhibit hall is almost full this year, going forward during a really questionable year. And that speaks even greater to this positive. But yeah, music industry for sure. And we have representatives on the board, as you know, that we brought on the board that are very active in helping us make long-term decisions and contributing to the forward movement. Yes, sir.
Well, now, in addition to your role at Midwest, you've also been active in other organizations, Music for All, Texas Bandmasters, Phi Beta Mu. Share with our audience, and especially the younger directors, how important it is to be a part of such far-reaching organizations.
Well, again, it's about keeping our profession united, moving in the same direction, because we have something that nobody else has, can reach kids. Music for All, was my wife and I were instrumental in helping get the concert part of that moving, their concert festival. And of course, that's grown immensely since then. And I was very proud of that. And we were able to bring a lot of programs, I think, and improve a lot of programs through the evaluation process the band received there. Phi Beta Mu, I was there 32 years, I believe, as the international executive secretary. And that's when I first started coming to Midwest, actually, in the 70s. And that, again, that is a very instrumental professional organization, fraternity, recognizing directors, band directors in this case, who are shown leadership and other qualities and success in their programs. And it's a wonderful fraternal organization that I think has done a lot of good. And they also have their annual meetings, international meetings in Chicago. And that's something else too, as you know, so many national and international organizations have their annual meetings during Midwest. We provide them a forum for them to do that. The TBA has a system where you start as sergeant at arms and move all the way up, so you have a little time to get acclimated and that. But that was a great thrill, of course. And 1977 is when I was actually president of TBA, and the 70s were a time of a lot of change too. Different marching styles were coming out then, and we'd kind of going into another era. So it was really interesting in the clinic sessions that I was able to help choose reflected the changes that were going on in music education at that time. So that's very rewarding. And then you stay on as immediate vice president for a year. And so, but helping to be a part of the Texas Bandmasters movement was a great honor, a great honor. And I'll never forget that experience and the friends that I made then, that lifetime friends serving on that. And that's the thing about Phi Beta Mu, you make friends in that, and it's a network too, where you have clinics and clinicians and mentoring, great mentoring programs and so forth. And I think that's what Midwest does. I think we end up being a great mentoring area, forum for young directors. So I'll add this, and I won't name what state it was, but I asked one time, why doesn't your state have a bandmasters, in this case, organization? And the answer was, well, we tried that one time, but didn't seem to be a lot of interest. Well, in my opinion, that state is just not anywhere come close to its potential with the resources they have. And it's because I don't think that they're really unified in staying together and helping one another and mentoring one another and having some common goals for their kids and the directors. And you can get isolated in this business real easily and sink. And I don't mean that to be an ugly, derogatory accusation against them, but I just thought, here's a chance for y'all to organize and be even better. But you know, you can be satisfied with mediocrity. You can be satisfied with mediocrity if that's the standard. But you're cheating all of our students in doing that. I'm sorry. Shouldn't get on a preaching here. But there's just no, I mean, why not? Why not? And I hope Midwest can be a forum for a lot of that. You know, we provided the Minority Band Directors Association, we provided them the opportunity and the space for them to organize 6 or 7 years ago. And I'm really proud of that. And of course, they've gone on and are great success and ministering to their constituency. So I don't know whether that answered your question, but absolutely. I mean, if you're not going forward, you're going backward. I'm sorry.
Richard, those are very wise words. And as you know, a lot of young directors and directors of all ages watch this program, and they are going to come away from today's version with a lot of very important information. What, in your estimation, does the role of the jazz band play in the schools today?
Well, it has become, in the 60s and 70s, it was, well, I don't know how to put this, it was kind of an extra activity. But now it's a vital part of the curriculum. And a lot of schools actually have it scheduled during the day, and others at least have it after school, which is fine. But I think it's absolutely important, and it can complement the concert band greatly, which I think is something that we kind of miss sometimes. You know, if I could digress for a moment, in World War I, the African American who served in World War I took jazz to Europe.
Mhm.
And if you watch documentaries, they were a hit in France and Holland, Belgium, and all those countries. They were absolute hit bringing jazz to Europe. And that is overlooked. I've never seen that anywhere except on an American History Channel. But that is really needs to be promoted. That was a absolute profound moment in American history and European history for jazz to go to Europe like that.
Mhm.
And I just happened to see that on a documentary recently, but it was just part of a little, the history. And I thought, oh my goodness, I never realized that. But they took jazz there, and the rest is history, so to speak. But yeah, I would say that, I mean, I had a jazz band when I was in Belton. I was not able to when I came here because I was doing supervision, but my assistants did. And but in Belton, and we played all over the place with we call it a stage band, excuse me, in those days. But we played, Lions Club, whatever, and actually made some money out of it. But the kids, I mean, a lot of the sight reading, I think my band was my concert band was one of the best sight reading things that I ever did. And it's because of the jazz that we did, I think. But anyway, absolutely, to answer your question, it's just absolute. It's like any other component of the music program. That's absolutely important.
I'm going to make a statement that you can agree with or disagree with, but throughout my career, I have always felt that school band's centerpiece or the heart of the program is the concert band. And the marching band is important. The jazz band is important. Of course, jazz is important. It's our only national treasure that we've had in our country for the past 100 years. But
Right.
I think many of the directors not many, but some directors have a tendency to put a heavy load on one or the other of jazz or marching and don't pay the appropriate amount of attention to the concert band. Do you agree with that?
Yes, sir. Yeah, well, yes. I think all you have to do is look at all the successful programs, the really successful programs, and they have a very strong concert band. That's the centerpiece. Then their marching band is good. The jazz band is good. Their jazz bands are great. Some of the best jazz bands years ago were in Richardson, who had drop dead wonderful concert bands, but their jazz bands were terrific. But the concert band that's where you recruit the kids and so forth. But jazz can really attract a lot of kids into the band program too.
And also keep them in the program.
And keep them in the program, yes. That's a good point. The marching band, well, that's another that's another issue. It can be abused and it can be very prudently managed.
Well, speaking
What
of
you said was absolutely the truth. Yeah.
well, thank you. This interview has been just amazing, Richard, and I love you for the things that you've done with your life, but also as you as a person. You're just an amazing, amazing human being. We know that you continue to be very busy with your varied roles. So give us just a glimpse of what's on the horizon for Richard Crain and your view. What is the health of music education today?
Well, as I referred to a while ago, I believe that we're on the precipice that we could take advantage of and move, especially instrumental music, forward. I think the opportunity is there if we grab hold of it and realize that. So I think the future is absolutely bright. I think it is absolutely, all the research has shown the benefits of being in instrumental music if it's managed well. So I think that the future is terrific. Who knows what the pandemic is going to have, the effect it's going to ultimately have. You and I know very well that it's going to be a challenge to produce the 2021. And by the way, Bob, Dick is the chairman of our 75th anniversary celebration committee. So he has been the one that's managed all of the neat things that we're doing, and from jazz orchestra and band, putting them all together and organizing them. So Dick, thank you for serving as chair of that committee.
It's been a pleasure, and it's going to be great.
That's going to be great. We have to assure people it's going to be safe to be there, and we can do that. We're ultimately bound by the mandates by the city of Chicago and state of Illinois, but we're in perfect alignment with what they're doing right now, the protocols. But I think always, if we really believe in what we're doing, you have to be optimistic about the future of music education. And I certainly believe the opportunities are there, but we have to be vigilant and we have to not take anything for granted. And once you start taking things for granted, it's when you start losing that influence. As I related back to, we have a great advocacy in this state, so that's kind of a safety valve. But even then, they have to be on the state capitol almost daily to ensure that we're going to have our voice heard. I think that Midwest also helps advertise and promote the value, the basic value of instrumental music. And that's what we have to do every day as our own advocacy. But in just simply answering the question, I think we have to be greatly optimistic. And as soon as this pandemic settles down, I think it's going to take off like gangbusters, even greater.
This has been fabulous, Richard. Thank you. You are a legend in our field and such a genuinely happy and successful man.
Well, thank both of you, dear friends. It's been an honor for me. And congratulations on this project, by the way. Congratulations. I know there's a lot of work that's gone into that, so you're to be commended. And I wish to congratulate you and thank you for letting me be a part of this today. It's been fun.
Thank you, Dick. Thank you, Richard. To our viewers, thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed today's interview with Richard Crain. Please watch for future episodes.